I used to hate conflict. In fact, there's nothing more that would make me more nervous as a leader than when my team would argue, yell at one another, and almost come close to fighting each other. Yeah, like physically fighting. And no, our arguments and debates as a team thankfully never went that far, but I've learned that they should come at least very, very close. Sounds weird, right? I thought so too, until I read the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. In this book, he describes how team meetings should have conflict. That's why in this video, you're gonna get a behind the scenes look into how our team meetings look as we reflect on how we've done so far just 30 days into the new year. Enjoy.
Yeah, so I got admin, mastermind, recap, and budget, launching ads, working through fulfillment bottlenecks, managing mastermind, office. Those seem like the big topics, right?
Yes.
Anything else? No, right?
Makes sense to me.
No.
Okay.
The mastermind has been ready, fire, aimed. And it's been ready, fire, aimed successfully because it's happened. But it's not sustainable. And that's where, like, again, totally intermixing everything in here together, but like that's where you and I just need to meet, but like for like 2 fucking days on just like building out a solid business plan for the mastermind, because it's been ready, fire, aimed. You did a great job ready, fire, aiming it, but like I've just got some not great stats for what we're trying to do and accomplish. And there's no way it's not gonna be a distraction. I am not shitting on the mastermind by any means. I just think we ready, fire, aimed it, but we have to take a step back. Like let us take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward. First step of that is splitting out the groups, making it mastermind only, and then done for you, or hybrids, and then done with yous in its own specific group, and then really mapping out and fulfilling on that front end, back end product suite, because that's really how I think it has to go. It has to be exclusive access to Brian. It's through the mastermind. If you want that, it's 24K or 36K. Again, I'm price agnostic. You can see that it makes money no matter what.
We could always just potentially open ticket sales to sit in, right? 2K, 3K a pop, and then they get to experience it for the weekend, and then we can upsell them to the mastermind for the entire year, right? So there's ways we can make money off it, even if we only have 10 people that show up, or let's say 10 people from the mastermind that actually go.
Has anyone actually full-fledged committed to Medellin yet?
No, because we haven't even announced it.
I haven't announced it, okay.
That's where we're stuck between this rock and a hard place. Do we want to do the hard commit and just go for it, or do we want to potentially wait, do it a little bit later, and then have that hard committal in place? Because like, again, my opinion was if we really sprint super hard with the done with you and the hybrid, naturally more people will funnel into the back end, thus pushing it a little bit later into the year would potentially make sense.
Where I'm sitting, like, Brian, this has been your baby, and it's not, I just don't feel like it's my position to say what's the best path forward. Like, whatever you decide, I think, Nick and I will be on board. But yeah, just with where our focus is at right now, I mean, can we fill that? Like, is it realistic that we could fill all those spots in May, given the information that Nick just shared?
If we don't do the event, right, number one, we're also going against our word, right? And things change, of course, but we said we're going to do it. We already paid David Ray to do it. We already have the dates, the venue locked. So let's just do it. Let's just commit to it, because we already committed to it, basically. At the same time, future pacing, right? We'll have our second event, and the content we'll get, the community that it'll bring together, it's just going to set up the mastermind for years to come again.
Look, man, I'm not against anything that you're saying right now, but it just like it's booked, so we're just going to do it. It's like, I mean, yeah, I guess that's like one way we could do it, but it's also like, we don't have to. Like, yeah, the Airbnb is booked, it's refundable, we can refund that, that's totally fine, it's 100% refundable. I just think that if that's how we're gonna run it, then yeah, I don't know, I just don't know if that's like the best methodology.
So basically you're arguing for saying no to the event completely for right now.
I think if we were gonna if Gary Keller were in the room, that's what he would say. Again, if we had 100 members inside the group and like 15 of them were like, I'm committed, going 100%, and that was our goal and our cap, then it would make more sense. The problem is like, we're gonna have to fill that up. Like, I know we say like, oh yeah, once we do the marketing video, like it's gonna pop. Once we hold the mastermind, everyone's gonna renew. Only 10% renewed. It's like, I don't know if that hypothesis is true. I'm not saying that the video isn't gonna be great. I mean, it is gonna be a great video. I was there. But the problem is like, I don't know if that is really gonna fill up the mastermind like we think that it is.
Well, I think let's zoom out again, right? Because we are going to split up the group. The mastermind has to be a true back-end mastermind. We talked about that yesterday.
Agreed.
The price has to go up because it includes live events, and it will include live events twice per year. And therefore, we want to have a better quality client who wants to go to those. So we, as much as the people that were in it before that were making the money they are, like, it's just a different quality of client we're going after now, right? Because our focus, like you're saying, which I agree with, has to be on scaling our front-end offer. And we're just trying to find what that front-end offer is right now to the cold traffic marketplace so it works. The mastermind is a back-end mastermind, so we have to treat it like that, which I agree with. As far as the event goes, I can see us still doing it. I don't necessarily know if the answer is to not do it. I think the answer for sure is not to have the whole team there, 100%.
Right.
Just because from a leadership perspective, I was listening to the book 33 Strategies of War yesterday. So back in, I don't know, whatever the fuck time it was, back when they were talking about it, they were obviously rivals back then. And the Boston Red Sox manager was pampering his team members, making sure they were feeling happy, making sure they were being taken care of, making sure he was drinking beers with them and, being their buddy, right? And making sure that they were feeling good about him as a manager so that they would perform better. If they're happy, they'll play good.
Friends with them.
Yeah, which was a hypothesis. Yankees were the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They were very disciplined, they were very ruthless, and they were very much focused on victory at all costs through discipline and hard work. It wasn't buddy, it wasn't like about camaraderie, it was, we're gonna fucking win. And as a result, the Yankees won like 13 pennant races, while the Boston Red Sox only won one. And the Yankees won like 6 World Series, while the Boston Red Sox had 0.
It's a good time to be alive, Yankees fans.
So the whole point of that story in that book is you can't pamper your team and reward them for the work that hasn't been done and the victory that hasn't been achieved.
Right.
And so I was going to come down here too and say, we're not inviting the whole team.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a reward because we haven't hit our goals. We can't keep rewarding ourselves even and saying that we're going to be doing these fun things when we haven't even hit what we said we're going to be doing, which is like, I truly believe, that's why I was saying, like, again, kind of tying it back to the office a little bit. It's like, that's a whole different discussion. But for me, it's like the one thing that's going to make everything else easier or necessary is just getting our fucking numbers. Like our new normal has to be 250. Like that has to be unwavering, no exceptions. It's 250, okay, 250K a month, but we're all pissed.
Yeah.
We're all fucking pissed. And we're pissed in a very healthy competition way because there's just no way unless we raise the standards of our old self. That's what has to happen. So here's what I'll say. I agree with not inviting the entire team. I agree with putting the mastermind on the back burner and splitting out the groups, which just has to happen, and not focusing on selling it because we have to focus on selling the front end. So those two things I'm 100% in agreement with.
I think people on the team have been fulfilling on their obligations on a daily basis, right? Obviously, like there's a whole portion of this that hasn't been accomplished yet, which is the paid ads working and us being on track to hit our revenue goals, right? And like, I don't know, this could be a different conversation in 30 days, 45 days. But like the thing is we just won't know. And so it is kind of like we kind of have to make a decision about it now, or else it puts us in a worse position because, maybe you're canceling closer to the mastermind or we're trying to scramble to find more expensive flights and shit for the team if, whatever. But
that's the problem.
I just don't want to, the reason I'm saying this is I just don't want to discount the effort that people have been putting in because I know Billy's been putting in a lot of work. I know that, the editing team, like Mike, they're going to be working through the weekend, it sounds like, so it's just like people are getting their shit done. It's just, I just don't want to be so quick to discount effort that people have been putting in is I guess where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah, but there's other ways to reward people besides giving them a trip.
Yeah, 30.
So I think again, it just comes back. It always comes back to focus and what are we focused on. And right now we're focusing on talking about the mastermind, which is in May, which again is a talking point that we should talk about because what we're talking about here is whether or not we should do it and how we should do it. Who should go,
right.
If we should even do it because it's taking away from the focus. So what I think it really does come back to is what's the purpose of the mastermind? And the purpose of the mastermind at first was to be a front end offer. Mm-hmm. We've proven that it was a successful front end offer, collected biggest day in ad spend history, right? The way I see it is it makes me excited because it gives us options to prove a front end offer again, but we still need a front end and a back end. Mm-hmm. So we have the mastermind as a back end.
Yeah.
We just need a front end. So we're focusing on the front end.
So let's just keep the mastermind a true back-in. Let's make it a price that makes sense. But I do agree the team's been working hard, but yeah, I just don't think a trip is really necessary.
It's a big cost for us to do that.
Yeah.
To your point, there's other ways that we could do that to reward them for that stuff.
I know that the mastermind, we are going to do a fucking mastermind. It's just about when. And that's always been the focus. That's always been the problem with me is focus, is when are we going to do it? Because it feels like we ready, fire, aimed it. You did an amazing job. We made 600 goddamn grand from it. But to me, it was like, hey, like, show me a path towards scalability and I'll build it with you.
Yeah, so let's not do it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. And we're not going to do it because it's going to make the mastermind even more valuable. Because once the footage does drop that we have from Miami and people start talking about the mastermind or wanting to join the mastermind, it's very exclusive, makes it more sought after. And the next time we do an event and we do promote it, it's another Miami sort of deal. Because we did make money from Miami. Once we dropped that VSL, we had 6 people join.
Yes, we could make a little bit of money from the mastermind, but we can make a shitload more money from cracking the front end.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the overarching theme comes down to, which is we know that we have the most profitable vehicle and biggest return on our time is making the front end and cracking that and getting that to $1 million a month.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we just say, okay, instead of Medellin, we're going to do a 2-day weekend workshop in Arizona.
Sure.
Bring David Dre here.
Sure.
And the people that are in the mastermind get exclusive access to us in this room here. We do a mini mastermind here.
That's way easier. It's just a Friday and a Saturday that is taking our time.
Yeah.
That way,
instead of travel time, a whole week, all that other stuff, it's very low key.
And we have the team to capture the content. We don't need anybody else.
Exactly.
Jeremiah, you're here. We're here.
Sign on.
Yeah, and David Dre comes here because Cole's, he's already partnering with Cole. So that gives him an excuse to come here instead.
Yeah.
And we get $7,500 back.
Yeah.
They get hands-on access to us and they get to do the sauna, cold plunge, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's how we can make it work when we say no to the Medellin Mastermind right now, which I do believe it does make sense to say no to it. As fun as it would be, I'd rather have fun by growing the company. I also just think it gives me more focus, which is what I can do when I do want to switch to the mastermind selling point. I can then market it. Jeremiah and I can come up with the killer game plan with Mike to really just promote it. Because we're still going to promote the Miami thing over the next few months, which will then just build the hype for the next one when we do start promoting the next one.
That can still bring in customers for the hybrid.
Yeah.
Or, like that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Because again, the mastermind is kind of like a coaching program with the live events. So all I got to say is I appreciate you listening and we all can come to the same conclusion together.
Yeah.
Again, I know that it's the solution I proposed, so it obviously feels good that we're going to run with it. But I just want to say I appreciate you guys listening and working through it together, even with the healthy conflict. So.
What's the point at that point to just take on more work for
just taking backward steps? We've already taken the backward steps.
Yeah.
Now we just got to put the giant steps forward.
Yeah, it's so funny how this fucking book, you guys should read this book. The one that Patrick recommended was Patrick David, 33 Strategies of War.
Was that his book or is that
I think he recommended it to us at the Bowl. But he recommends this book, and there's a story in this book, kind of like what you guys were just saying. There's a story.
I have this book.
There's a chapter.
I have it at home.
It's literally called Burn the Boats. And it's literally one of the most effective strategies of war. And he tells this story about how there's a Spanish conquistador, and he's going from Spain over to Mexico because there's a bunch of gold in Mexico, and they want to conquer Mexico and take over the land, right? But before he leaves Spain, the king starts doubting this conquistador's ability and thinks that he's very self-interested and he doesn't want to give him too much power. So he gets word that in the middle of the night they're going to come and sabotage him from leaving. So as he hears that, he packs up all the boats with all his troops and he dips out immediately. And by the time the king gets to his house, he's not there, right? He's gone. And he's like, I'll deal with the king later. I'm gonna go fucking conquer Mexico. And then he goes to Mexico, right? And then they're there for 6 months and they're realizing, holy fuck, these Aztecs are fucking savages. They're slicing people's heads off, sacrificing people. These guys are fucking savages. And there's only 5K Spanish people. There's 25,000 plus Aztecs in Mexico at that time. And so he starts getting word that there's spies in his camp that are working for the king that are trying to sabotage the whole mission. And so he has a decision to make in the night again. He's like, fuck,
these fucking people are gonna sabotage my whole thing here unless I fucking make an example of them. But how am I gonna do that? That next morning, chops all their fucking heads off in front of everybody and says, if you're a fucking spy, this is what's gonna happen to you. And the next day, he sunk all the boats that they came on. Yeah, sunk all the boats. So they can't leave unless they fucking fight or they die. Yeah. And so at that point, the entire army has to get behind this guy, and they're saying, holy shit, we have to fight now. And so they fight like their life depends on it, because it literally does, and they end up fucking winning 5,000 against 25,000 fucking troops. And the whole point of that story is burn the fucking boats. So what you guys were just talking about just reminded me of that, because it's like, we gotta say fucking no.
Right.
Burn the boats, dude. It's gone. It's only this now. That's the only way we're gonna win the war. It's the only way. That's why I have this on my fucking phone screen.
That's the core values.
War. War.
Who is that?
It's Melvin Hagler. He's one of the famous boxers who, in the quote in that video, he's like, I'm war mode right now. All I think about is knocking this fucking guy out. Nobody else. Nothing else in my mind. War. And I'm just like, fuck you. War mode. Because it's a war. I think about it like it's a war with ourselves. Like we're talking about, like I was talking about on the team meeting. It's like it's a war with myself, trying to become better. We're at war with ourselves. We're at war with our previous versions of the company. We're at war with a totally new battle, and it's like we got to have that mindset.
Yeah.
So, yeah.